Dun 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 dun. Everything is crashing to zero. I think the worst part is over. The worst part is over. So let's get into a few things and all the fear mongering that is going on with Twitter, because I see this stuff all the time. Here's the Wickoff deal, and we're going to 54,000. Everybody panic. Well, you know what? The masses are always wrong. And that's where I feel like capitulation has already pretty much happened. Okay. And so here is a monthly chart. Actually, this is the weekly. And, people on Twitter and everybody wants to call that this was the line. Okay. But in actuality, this is actually the line. And on the week, we have a very bullish hammer candle forming because we went down to 83. And the reason why we tanked down to 83 was because the Bank of Japan raising the rates to 1%. So everybody that was borrowing money, switching it to United States dollars to buy risk assets, had to sell everything to go back. But you know what happened for Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin ended up tanking. We ended up going down like 10%, something massive. Okay. Well, the stock market was pretty much just continuing a bull flag. Okay. A bull flag is simply put, if I get my little drawing deal out here, is you go up, draw, and then it just kind of goes sideways. Okay. But stocks go up kind of like this. That is the bull flag. And that's what freaking the S&P 500 did. And if it was a true crash, what would have happened? Well, the VIX, which is the volatility index, would have skyrocketed to back up here. Anything basically above 20 is kind of scary, because if we look back, if I just go back to like the weekly and everything, when we were really crashing back in April, the VIX, was at 55. And then what did the stock market do back in April? In March, dude, it went down below 5,000. Massive crash. But what has happened here with this last yen carryover trade? Nothing really has happened. So Bitcoin has sucked the volatility. Okay. We ended up with a CME gap at 93, this is kind of like the opening for the year where we're having a hard time, where we're wicking down there. Like if I'm looking at guys like Solana, because that's my other trade in, we've got this falling wedge and we are not breaking out. Okay. Not breaking out. If I look at my trades, because, truthfully, there is the referral in the top right-hand screen. You can get up to $300 here. Funding rates are now negative. Okay. Well, it was just a little bit. Just recently, after the 8 hours, Bitcoin went from negative to basically neutral, which is positive. Same thing with ETH and Solana. XRP is still negative. So as far as funding rates go, this is very good to see. This is meaning that guys, their shorts are having to pay for longs. And that typically doesn't happen. That's typically happens once we're finding a bottom. So Solana's got to break through this. We have all the Twitter FUD with everything's going down to 50. Like, even here on YouTube, okay, you've got all these influencers that are making your money and they keep calling for this, okay, on the weekly. And here is the 50-day and the 21-day. They're saying that we are going to rise back to the 50, right? And it's a dead cat bounce. And then we're instantly going to then from there go all the way down. Here, let me zoom out just a little bit. They're saying that we are going to this area and even below. Some people are calling for 50, which is ludicrous to me. Right now, we have a base forming. Yes. Okay. So moving averages are delayed indicators. This guy, yes, we bounced. And this is in fact scary that we ended up tanking down here, but there was some restructuring going on here. We've got quantitative easing. Okay. We've got a new Fed chair coming. If we look at the Federal Reserve, we've got a 93% chance of a new rate cut happening. Liquidity is coming back into the market. Everything is still fearful even at these top ranges. We are at extreme fear. That's not when a market is rolling over and instantly going into a prolonged bear market. We didn't have a blow off top. So I am calling for every just bear out there that they're just flat wrong. And I'm willing to bet. I've got like 100 grand bet on it. And to me, this seems like before the year end, we are going to get a Santa rally. And that Santa rally, because here, if I just remove some of this stuff, okay, if I remove most of those and we go here, we didn't have that blow off top, because if we just draw simple lines, okay, simple trend lines, and these have been going on for the better part of the last couple of years, okay, we never touched it. And so my consensus are saying we're going to get somewhere around the 140 range first quarter of 2026. And then that's when things are going to look a little scary. For the S&P 500, if I'm honestly zooming out, okay, maybe I got to go. Let's zoom out here. This is a pretty exponential move here on the S&P 500. This is the futures, okay? And so if we're just looking at simple, we are at the top, okay? And we are bouncing. Ooh, that looks awful to be able to see. Okay, we are holding above this trend line. And so, yeah, we've bounced below it, and I'm calling for 7,500 over 7,000 here soon is realistically what I'm calling for. If we go back to the daily, it looks kind of scary, okay, because we've got this rising wedge, okay, and with this rising wedge, you think that things are over with because we've just been up here, we broke, but now we're going up, we're in the middle of the channel again, okay, and that middle of the channel says that we're going above 7,000. Just plain and simple. With as much is going on in the market, I don't see things rolling over. Look at the dollar. The dollar is under 100. Okay. Whenever things are real weak, we look at the VIX. Okay. The VIX skyrockets, and the same thing happens with the dollar. The dollar skyrockets. And that's not what's happening. So I am saying be patient. Maybe sign up there, and let's have a good end of 2025 and 2026. This is Johnny Crypto.